And now to our second major story. The Ivorian government has accused allies of former President Laurent Gbagbo of attempting to destabilize the country through a series of recent attacks staged on police and gendarmes in the past few months. Interior Minister Sidiki Diakite accused Stefan Kipe, the son-in-law of the former president, and Pikas Demana, a former head of Young Patriots, a pro-Gbagbo movement, as the instigators of the destabilization project. The two men are currently in exile outside Ivory Coast. One of the accused men, Pikas Demana, had also been fingered in several violent actions between 2002 and 2011.
Des accusations graves, infondées et fallacieuses. C'est ainsi que Stéphane Kipré a répondu à ces accusations, justement. Stéphane Kipré, qui est incriminé dans la déclaration du gouvernement, qui répond à ses accusateurs. Le gendre de l'ex-président exilé en France a déclaré qu'il
The two men fled to exile in France. Ongoing investigations after 7 attacks led to arrest of 35 people and others have been identified, said the minister during a press conference after a National Security Council meeting held at the Presidential Palace in Abidjan.
Lisant un communiqué à la presse à l'issue d'un conseil national de sécurité extraordinaire tenu au palais présidentiel d'Abidjan. Nous sommes en ligne à présent avec l'ancien Premier ministre et président du Front.
We speak to Pascal Affingessan, former Prime Minister and leader of Popular Ivorian Party, for more on this.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, le ministre de l'Intérieur vous accuse de mener un projet de déstabilisation. Je cite, quelle est la première réaction de votre
parti? The Prime Minister has accused you of carrying out a destabilization plan. What is your response?
D'abord que la déstabilisation par la
First, destabilization through arms or violence is not part of our values, our principles or action. We are a democratic party. All activists, all supporters of President Laurent Gbagbo have made peace their battleground, which is why we have always spoken about peace, a peaceful transition to democracy. And where there are problems, we always say, let's sit down and talk. So we are not concerned by these unfounded accusations.
Monsieur Affingessan,
what do you think led the government to make such an accusation? Well, I think its importance is failure. The government has failed miserably. It has failed to restore peace and stability in the country. Ivorians are victims of a permanent and endemic insecurity. There are armed attacks because the government has stubbornly refused to bring the country to national reconciliation, to implement fair justice. Thousands of Ivorians are in prison for political reasons. Tens or even hundreds of others are in exile for the same political reasons. And it is in this context that there is also poverty. Therefore, it is the government which has failed miserably, and instead of recognizing this failure and revise its logic, revise the policies that have been implemented so far, it prefers to cast unfounded accusations. And it is blind and deaf and has abandoned the voice of wisdom, which will be the way of an inclusive dialogue and a sincere process of national reconciliation, which are the only ways to enable Ivorians to get out of violence. So I think they're wrong to use the pro-Gbagbo supporters as scapegoats. The reality is that they have failed in the implementation of a policy of peace and stability for Ivory Coast.
Vous venez de l'évoquer, cette question de la réconciliation nationale en Côte d'Ivoire, une réconciliation nationale qui est encore fragile. Cette accusation...
Well, is this accusation not undermining the current efforts?
Les efforts de dialogue qui sont en cours.
That is what everyone recommends, from the international institutions up to the smallest citizen in Ivory Coast. Everyone wants peace. Everyone wants reconciliation. Everyone calls on the current Ivorian authorities to take the path of dialogue and reconciliation. Unfortunately, they see reconciliation as a calamity because reconciliation means openness, it means appeasement, it means democracy, transparency, and all this is contrary to their interests. They want to rule the country with an iron fist and take over government revenues and lead through bad governance and plunder. But today they should know that the more they get caught up in this logic of repression and closure, the more they will create conditions for the destabilization and violence. And that is why, once again, we continue to call on them to demonstrate wisdom and to change their logic, because the attacks they denounce, the ongoing violence in Ivory Coast, means that people have chosen a certain path and they want an outcome. Well, finally, this is a serious accusation by the Interior Minister. Will you lodge a complaint, or do you think this would be a waste of time?
Pensez-vous que ce serait une perte de temps finalement de porter plainte contre le gouvernement?
Est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, en Côte d'Ivoire, il y a une justice capable sous ce régime-là?
Well, is there any justice in Ivory Coast under this regime? In this kind of affair, to put it clearly, we already are victims in terms of justice, politically through many political prisoners. Therefore, the solution to the problems in Ivory Coast are not legal but political. It is necessary to sit down, and we must sit down and negotiate to find consensual solutions to all the problems facing the country. Well, thank you very much, Afin Gessan, former Prime Minister and leader of the Ivorian Popular Front Party.